Thank you all so much for coming, and I want to thank the Northern Illinois Food Bank for this inspiration to bring us all together. They reported to our Agriculture Committee last week, and after hearing the report, I thought we have to bring this forward to the public so they have an understanding of how this is impacting Kane County. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Corinne Pierog. I am the Kane County Board Chairwoman, and I'd like to welcome you all today to this very important meeting. I'd also like to introduce, we have some very wonderful guests who have either sitting in the audience or they are sitting here at the table. I don't know if everybody's here today, but I'd like to recognize them. Morgan Evans, the Senior Government Affairs Associate, and Molly Duffy, Fellow from the Governor's Office. We have, obviously, we've got two wonderful Congress people here, Bill Foster and Lauren Underwood. We are very grateful that you made time to attend this meeting. We need to hear your voice at the table. Senator Linda Holmes, thank you so much for your attendance. Anna Muller may be coming in. I hope we get a chance to see her. Could all of our King County board members just quickly stand and say hello? Hi. Thank you all so much for coming. We have county staff who's in attendance today as well, from the County Health Department, if you could stand. That's Liz Alman, Mark Van Kerkhoff, and Chris Dowd from our Development Office, and John Jonak, who's going to be wearing two hats. He's one of ours, who we dearly love, as well as representing the Regional Office of Education. John, could you stand as well? Where are you? There you are.
Yes, and I have the Assistant Regional Superintendent, Katie Alcorn, with me as well.
Welcome, Katie. Glad you're here. We have representatives from two of our largest school districts, East Aurora, Dr. Robert Halverson. He was also one of the inspirations for all of this. We were at the event and started pulling people out going, hey, we need to talk about this. And Dr. Suzanne Johnson from U46. And here comes Anna. Hi, Anna. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Is Kara Corsiglia from H-Guide here? Kara, welcome. Thank you so much. We never can forget about our seniors. And we have some representatives from our food pantries. Ellen Pizarro from Eileen. I'm sorry. My apologies. No worries, of course. Central Information, Julia Perez. Is she here? Coming. Community Crisis Center, Emily Newbold. Is Emily here? No. Where is she? There she is. Hey, Emily. Food for Greater Elgin, Emily Tyler. Yes. There she is. Hi. Will you speaking with us? And Marie Wilkinson, Annette Johnson. Is Annette here?
Not here. I'm Annette.
Okay, you're Annette. Thank you, Anita. Anita, not only is she representing Aurora on our board, but she's also a strong advocate and volunteer for the Marie Wilkinson Food Pantry. So she wears multiple hats. So I'm going to begin with just some facts of where we are right now. A reduction in SNAP benefits in Kane County, Illinois could have wide-ranging and serious impacts upon our residents' children, seniors, veterans, pet ownership, community safety, and the local economy. Currently, nearly 61,000 residents in Kane County receive SNAP benefits, which support food security and economic stability. SNAP generates $7.2 billion in annual economic impact in Illinois, with each dollar in benefits yielding $1.54 boost to our local economies. The maximum monthly amount for an individual in Illinois in 2025, that's for an individual now, is $298. And income limits for elderly or disabled households are set at a gross income amount of $2,608 for a single person household. So that's about $24,000, $25,000 a year. Approximately 36,500 residents, that's over 8% in Kane County, live in poverty, and 23% of the population is over 60. That's pretty shocking. With 7% of our seniors living here in Kane County below the poverty line. The unemployment rate has increased from 3.6% in May of this year to 4.7% in August, indicating economic pressures that could be intensified by benefit reductions. The total number of veterans in Kane County is estimated to be around 18,644 to about 25,000. Applying the approximate 7% statewide veteran poverty rate suggests that roughly 1,300 to 1,750 veterans in Kane County are living behind the poverty line, highlighting a very vulnerable subset of the population that could be severely impacted by reduced assistance. Many of these veterans really rely on SNAP benefits to meet their basic needs. For families and seniors relying on SNAP, benefit reductions can lead to increased food insecurity, malnutrition, and health complications. Children may experience a lack of concentration and behavioral problems linked to insufficient nutrition. Seniors, especially those on fixed incomes like Social Security, face heightened risk of hunger, health deterioration, and financial hardship. Pet owners might be faced to surrender or abandon their pets due to financial stress, and I think we've heard that already on the news. Increasing strain on animal shelters. Further, community safety concerns escalate as increased ICE arrests and enforcement create a climate of fear and discouraging of vulnerable populations, including immigrants, seniors, and veterans from accessing essential services. Overall, cutting SNAP benefits threatens to worsen health disparities, economic instability, and social cohesion in Kane County, disproportionately impacting low-income families, seniors, veterans, children, and immigrant communities, compromising the well-being and resilience of the entire communities here in Kane County, all 29 of our municipalities. A poet wrote, "A hungry population is easy to control. Securing insecurity is the political goal." I would like to begin our discussion with our federal and state perspective on the SNAP policy changes, and I would like to introduce and turn the microphone over to Congressman Foster and Congresswoman Underwood, please.
Well, thank you, Corinne, and thanks to all of you for being here. And I think what we're seeing here is probably one of the most cruel and tragic results of having an administration that does not believe that you have to follow the law or follow the courts or follow the Constitution. Earlier this week, a federal court required the Trump administration to pay out the SNAP benefits from the contingency fund that Congress had set aside, which would cover the month of November. In response to this, the administration said, "Oh, well, maybe we'll pay out half of the November benefit funds, but that might take several weeks, and it would be faster, of course, if he just got his way and rolled over Congress on this." And this was not, and so then yesterday evening, there was a separate court ruling that no, that's not okay, and that Trump must pay out the full benefits by today. And so right now, I don't know, we don't know whether he's going to comply with that or not.
He's already got court stuff going on.
No, there is a court going on at all levels. Illinois was one of 25 states that sued as part of the lawsuit that got this decided. And so we've been doing everything we can in the courts, and the issue is going to come down to whether the administration is willing to follow the courts or not. And that's it. And what politically what he's doing is sort of doing the bare minimum to be able to claim that he is complying or without actually providing the help that people depend on. And that's the tragedy of the situation. And Illinois has, I think, done everything they can, and is trying to do everything it can to try to step into the breach here, but it's not going to be easy, and I think we'll hear more about that from our state representatives. But there are something like 2 million people in Illinois that rely on SNAP, and about 42 million across the whole country. I think in my district alone, which is spread over 8 counties, there are 24,000 families, and of course many more individuals that are also dependent on SNAP benefits. So this is not inconsequential.
So good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Congresswoman Lauren Underwood. I represent the 14th Congressional District. And I know everyone here in this room is deeply committed to making sure that our neighbors who would otherwise go hungry have the access to nutritious foods and the ability to feed their kids and put food on the table. I'm so grateful for everything that you all are doing. I know that it's a shared value in our community to make sure that our food banks and our food pantries are properly resourced and that those who rely on the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, have the resources that they need to feed themselves and their families. Everyone here knows that SNAP is one of the most effective tools that we have to reduce hunger, to stabilize families, and to support our local economies. But since taking office, President Trump and MAGA extremists have repeatedly made it a priority to restrict food access for hungry families. The cruelty is literally their point, and their policies have raised the cost of food extraordinarily high. They've ignored the needs of our farmers here in Kane County, and they've threatened the health and well-being of families across the country. And they've already cut SNAP funding through the Big Ugly Bill to the tune of $186 billion. That was in July. And then now they're cutting SNAP benefits again for the 42 million Americans who rely on the SNAP program by withholding the funding for that program for this month. Today's conversation could not be more timely because just this week, SNAP benefits lapsed for the first time in U.S. history. And I want to be very clear that the Trump administration has had the funding and the legal authority all along to fully fund SNAP for November. It's a choice. They have chosen not to do so. So we've taken them to court, as we heard from Congressman Foster. In addition to fighting them there, I mean, obviously the Trump administration has continued to create their own crisis and make it even worse by instigating conflict statements, making more administrative headaches for states, and then further delaying aid reaching hungry families. So yesterday, a federal judge ordered the administration to issue full benefits, but Trump's U.S. Department of Agriculture appealed the ruling. They literally said in court filings they don't want to feed people. Here in Illinois, our Illinois Department of Human Services is still trying to update guidance and get benefits out, but the chaos and confusion caused by this administration's cruel and illegal policy choices are making it very difficult. It could take days or even weeks before payments are released, and then obviously we are anticipating further court action. To end this crisis, I've co-sponsored the Keep SNAP and WIC Funded Act of 2025, which is being introduced today. This legislation would prevent the Trump administration from illegally withholding available funds for SNAP and WIC, and it would require the federal government to reimburse states for covering SNAP benefits during a shutdown. Families, states, yes. I mean, we all need the money. We're not going to forget how much we're owed, and we're going to fight for every single cent. Families, states, and local organizations that keep our communities fed deserve clarity and consistency. And I know that Congressman Foster and I will see it through. I look forward to working with you to get it done and to provide the support and to help our families across Kane County and across Northern Illinois. Thank you so much for convening us. Chairwoman, I'm really grateful to be here.
Thank you, Congresswoman. I'd like to introduce now our state representatives, Linda Holmes and Anna Mueller. So I'll turn the mic over to you, Linda.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman. I appreciate you convening this group to discuss this. It's a very difficult issue to discuss, especially when we're looking at it impacting so much of our state's welfare, and yet any control or the ability to do anything is really so much on the federal level, which leaves us at the state level feeling incredibly helpless. It was never intended that our government, our state government, would be in place in order to try and compel the federal government to follow the law and obey judges' orders. So it really, we have so little recourse in what to do. What have we tried to do? I will tell you that on Thursday, October 30th, Governor Pritzker signed an executive order to direct a total of $20 million in state funding from the Illinois Department of Human Services and the budget reserve for immediate disbursements and government emergency funds to support food banks across Illinois. That will help them distribute support to over 2,600 local food pantries in the state. And the approximate 1 million bridge fund was set up earlier in the year with collaboration again from Governor Pritzker and the Illinois General Assembly in anticipation that the state would have to mitigate disruption created by the federal administration's unreliability and willingness to harm residents. I will say this is something that impacts our most vulnerable, particularly to understand that so many of these benefits, I think it's something close to 40% go to children, and understanding the harm that is done to children both physically and developmentally if they are not fed and well nourished. So I appreciate you convening this, and you certainly have everybody in the state of Illinois willing to stand up and do whatever we can.
Thank you so much. Representative Mullen?
Thank you, Senator Holmes. Thank you, Chairwoman Pierog and Congressman Foster and Underwood for being here and for bringing us together to talk about this important issue. I chair the House Human Services Appropriations Committee, and we held a very extensive hearing on the changes that are coming down through HR 1 to the SNAP program in Illinois back at the beginning of October. So this was before the arbitrary limitations were put on by the Trump administration due to the shutdown. And I couldn't agree more with the characterization of Congresswoman Underwood and Congressman Foster about the cruelty of the Trump administration in withholding funding for SNAP benefits during the shutdown. This is the first time in our history since SNAP has been a program over the last 60 years that any administration has withheld funding, despite the party in control during a government shutdown. This is unprecedented, what the president is doing, and it's unconscionable. However, even after we get past this shutdown, as has been referenced, the changes in HR 1 that was signed into law by President Trump on July 4th are going to have dramatic impacts here in Illinois on our SNAP program. As was mentioned, we have 1.9 million residents who currently use SNAP, and we are expecting reductions in funding coming from the state government or from the federal government that could impact access to this necessary program. We are looking at, because of these new SNAP work requirements and time limits that have been placed in HR 1, up to 450,000 people in Illinois will be subject to losing benefits after 3 months if they don't show an exemption or prove compliance. And these are individuals who've been receiving SNAP without the need to worry about work requirements, while others became newly subject to them as HR 1 took away previous exemptions for people aged 55 to 64, as well as for veterans, people experiencing homelessness, and youth aging out of foster care. In both cases, most people are not familiar with the process and will struggle to comply or to prove compliance if they are complying. Illinois' current waiver of work requirements runs through the end of January 2026, but advocates are concerned that USDA will terminate the waiver before the end of 2025. Furthermore, we have up to 20,000 documented humanitarian immigrants in Illinois who have been eligible for receiving SNAP who will now lose their benefits. While the provision taking away eligibility from these groups, who are primarily refugees and asylees, was technically effective July 4th, USDA has not yet directed the state to implement it, but they are likely to do so before the end of 2025. At that point, the only immigrants eligible for SNAP will be lawful permanent residents, Cuban, Haitian entrants, and people who are part of a compact, a free association between the U.S. and some small Pacific Island nations. Immigrants will also lose food assistance who receive help from the state's Victims of Trafficking and Torture program. We know that food banks and food pantries will not be able to make up for these federal cuts by assisting more people. We know they are already oversubscribed, and can provide only 1 meal for every 9 provided by SNAP. So as a result, we can expect increased hunger among adults and children alike, inevitably leading to adverse health effects, as well as decreased educational performance from hungry children. The most dramatic impact on the state budget from SNAP cuts will come from 2 different costs that are currently borne by the federal government and will now be transferred to states. The first is administrative costs. The Department of Human Services estimated that the administrative burden from shifting 50% of the cost to administer the program to only 25% of the cost from the federal government will cost the state $80 million every year in lost revenue. The other expected cost is going to come from the fact that the federal government is for the first time asking the states to pay a share of the cost of SNAP benefits. The amount owed by the state will rise or fall each year depending on the state's error rate in a given year. If an error rate is below 6%, there will be no cost share. However, at the state's current error rate, the state of Illinois faces a cost share of roughly $700 million. If the state does not fund its cost share, the SNAP program will no longer exist at all for 1.9 million people who need it. So the Department of Human Services is working very diligently with our partners and our communities to bring down that error rate. And when we talk about error rates, this could be a very minor data entry error made by a caseworker who's enrolling someone on SNAP. It could be a minor error from an enrollee who forgot to mention a small source of income when they're applying for SNAP. These are small administrative errors, and the Trump administration is using this to hold this over states as a weapon to reduce our costs. So we are looking at some dramatic effects here because of HR 1. And just to kind of put this into context, in my district, in the 43rd district, which is primarily Kane County, 15,655 residents rely on SNAP every month to feed their families. Representative Hirschauer, who represents the 49th district and also is partly here in Kane County, has 6,702 residents. And Representative Hansen, these are all members of my committee, so I have access to their data. Representative Hansen has 16,475 residents. And I believe Chairwoman Pierog gave an overview of how this is going to affect Kane County overall. This is going to be devastating for so many of our residents. I applaud those who are working so hard to make sure that we are mitigating and minimizing the impact to our residents. We know we need to get behind our food banks, our food pantries at this time to help them bridge that gap, but we know it's not going to be enough. And having opportunities to inform the public of the devastation and cruelty that's coming out of the Trump administration so that we can reverse this at some point, I think is incredibly important. So thank you again for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you all for your alarming words. And now I'd like to introduce who I consider the general, who's at the front, trying to manage all of this. This is Julie Yurko, the Executive Director of the Northern Illinois Food Bank.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. First, I want to thank my partners. If I'm a general, I don't know what they are, but I want to thank my partners. There we go. Food for Greater Elgin, Centro de, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. Centro de Información, Batavia Interfaith, and Marie Wilkinson for being here today. Nothing we do alone. We do it in partnership with an incredible network of food pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. So my deepest thanks to them for being on the front lines with us. I also want to acknowledge my food bank family here. We have amazing, friendly, hardworking food bankers. If you're a food banker, I need you to stand up. You're ready, Courtney's already standing up. And then we have one of our board members here today, Maydeen Moore, who is leading the charge with us. So we're so glad to have you here. talking about how we care so deeply for people here at Northern Illinois Food Bank. We want every person to live their very best life. We believe every person has value, and every person was created to do something amazing, to thrive here. And so today, my heart is breaking. My heart is literally breaking. The devastation we're seeing being done to our families right now is just heartbreaking. It is so hard to see. I mentioned that we work in partnership. We cover 13 counties. We cover all the suburban counties, making a C around the city of Chicago. We go out past Rockford into Stevenson County, all the way south into Kankakee County, 7,000 square miles. We have over 300 food pantries. We have over 900 feeding sites across those 13 counties. We have a system that allows us to see real time what is happening. It represents just over half of our food pantries. When we look at the first week in October versus the first week in November, we are seeing 26% more people coming to us. 26% more people. Just within those 170 food pantries, that takes us from 63,000 visits to 80,000 visits in a week. It is devastating, and it's not okay. It's not okay. All the elected officials have said so beautifully about how this impacts us, our physical and mental health, and it's not okay. You've also heard about how important SNAP benefits are. There are 445,000 people here in Illinois who rely on SNAP benefits. They are an economic boon to our economy. They put food on neighbors' tables, and they're not receiving those. As someone who has previously experienced food insecurity, you need the benefits. They help you feed your family. And so we are here. The Charitable Food Network is here to serve these families in this moment. And I'm so proud of what we can do. We cannot fill the gap, but we are doing everything we can. We didn't budget for this, right? We didn't think this was gonna happen. But I will tell you, Nadine and her colleagues, last week they approved us investing $4 million additional dollars just for November, so that we can distribute more food out. We are grateful for the support coming from the governor's office. All of that food is to go out free of charge to our network. I learned today, I keep clicking approve for every food invoice that comes in. We already have 60 truckloads of food coming in starting next week for our pantries. In order to make this happen, as we always do, we're leaning on the goodness of others. I'm so delighted to share with you how many volunteers, how many donors are stepping up in this moment and saying we are here to help. We are increasing our volunteer shifts. We are increasing our own distributions out through our My Pantry Express, our online food pantry, our pop-ups, our mobile pantries, our own food pantries, increasing the shifts where people can come in to get the food they need. We're bringing on temporary staff. We have to bring in more drivers, more warehouse workers, more frontline workers, more fundraisers, more communication team members to make sure that we can get the message out to everyone who needs help today. And most importantly, we are trying to communicate with our neighbors. It is so hard, and again, I know this, it is so hard when you're in a position and your life is upside down, whether it's a season or a longer term. It's so hard to know where to turn. And so we are doing everything we can. We have a magnificent, we call them our snappers, snap team. They answer our hotline, trying to direct folks to where they need to go. We have our Food Finders map on our website, trying to direct people to where they can get help. I will close by saying this isn't the only thing hitting us. You heard State Senator Mueller talk about what's to come with SNAP. That is terrifying to us, right? The tens of thousands of folks who will not be receiving benefits in the coming months. And then the possibility, which I would tell you was ridiculous a few weeks ago, no way are we gonna lose SNAP as a whole. That is terrifying to us. Every one meal we provide, 9 meals are provided through SNAP. We cannot make up the gap. We will be here, we will do everything we can, but we can't. And then I also want to share with you that at Northern Illinois Food Bank, federal resources coming to our organization through our first quarter, we're July 1 through June 30th. Federal resources, dollars are down 40% from the federal government. Food is down 34%. So we are serving more, and we're experiencing this increase increased demand. I want to turn it over to who I consider my expert, my subject matter expert, and that's Tina, who is the person who can share with us her perspective.
Okay, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Tina, and I live in Kane County with my 3 family members, including my husband, he's disabled. We are one of the 445,000 Illinois families without access to the SNAP right now. So for the past 2 years, I've relied on SNAP benefits to put food on the table for my family. And I work part-time as a caregiver for a couple of the elderly in my neighborhood, helping them out also. And I also work at the bus company, part-time to kind of compensate for, what we need. But with the inflation and the rising cost of the food, it's still hard to make ends meet. So each month, I usually receive, between about $294 in SNAP benefits. And that extra help makes a big difference. It's how we were able to afford groceries and still keep up with the bills. So now, because of the freeze on the SNAP, we haven't received our benefits. So right now, without the support of the SNAP, now I'm budgeting my bills around so that I'm able to get, the food that we need. And some bills are, this month I know they're gonna be late. Not probably gonna be able to pay them at all. And this, I'm starting to, feel the stress now. With the holidays coming up right now too, that's kind of scary. It's not gonna be like it used to be, the big meals and everyone coming around. Let's see, it makes me just feel stressed and uncertain, especially when I'm doing everything I can to stay afloat. And then also on top of that, I'm worried about the new SNAP eligibility requirements that could affect us in the long run. It's gonna put even more strain on our family and our finances. And then I'm hopeful that SNAP benefits resume soon so I don't feel behind on my bills. Until then, I'm so grateful for the local pantries, for the Northern Illinois Food Bank, Marie Wilkinson and the other ones that everyone has mentioned. They're there for us, they're helping us, and it makes it a little bit, easier for us to know that we will be able to provide, food for the family. And, during this difficult time, so I just want to say thank you to everyone. And, hopefully this all comes together the way that we want it and everything comes back the way that it should be. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you are incredibly brave. Perhaps we can hear from our local food pantries now.
Sure. So you said Northern Illinois Food Bank was up 26% week over week. We've actually doubled just this week. We're seeing twice as many families as we were seeing in the months prior. So that has really put a strain on us. In addition, because we are realizing that families often are relying on both SNAP benefits and food that they receive from a food pantry, now that those SNAP benefits are gone, we are trying to increase what we are providing to families to make sure that they will have enough to get by. So double the number of people, increase how much you're giving them, it's really hard for us to keep our shelves filled. So we're really grateful. We always look to the Northern Illinois Food Bank first because we are able to purchase items at such a reduced cost or take advantage of the times when we are able to get items completely for free, which helps us keep our shelves really full. Also, in times of tragedy, it's wonderful. We've had such a community uprising of support. Food donations are coming in. I'm getting calls every day from organizations that are wanting to do food drives for us. Our financial gifts have increased, and we've had an increase in volunteers as well. So all of those things come together, and they certainly help. I just was joking with my husband the other day. I said, wouldn't it be nice if people were like, it's Tuesday, and I'll give money to the food pantry. Yeah. I just kind of hate that, we have to have these times of crisis when people really think and care about their neighbors and worry about them. Obviously, we're grateful for all of those donations that are coming in, let's just keep it going so we can continue that. So that's what I have to say from Batavia. If Emily wants to chime in.
Oh, Emily, please.
Sure. We have also seen an increase, especially we reserve one of our distribution times for seniors, 60 and older. And that last Friday, that was a 50% increase just of what we typically see on a senior day. So we definitely are seeing an increase in guests. I would also echo that we have seen an outpouring of support from the community. I cannot keep up with thank you notes and people reaching out, asking us for a list of preferred items. So we're seeing similar all the way around.
All right, now, I'd like to introduce, and our speakers could just, perhaps, if there a floating microphone that we can use, thank you. I'd like to bring on our superintendents and our regional superintendents. So, John, why don't we start with you, John Jonak, and you can give the overview, and then we will turn over to East Aurora and then E46.
Sure. Thank you very much for having us, and we're happy to be here, and we're very happy to be hearing from the Northern Food Bank and some of our other food banks as well in regard to what's going on. Not because it's a good situation, but because, number one, I was a young man who had food insecurity, and so I appreciate everything that you are doing to help our families that need it so much. Also, in general, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you. Being in the service today, I was able to go get my blood drawn over at the VA clinic here. And I was meeting with some of, I was in the Army, but I was actually talking to somebody that was in the Air Force. I usually don't make that a habit. And we were talking about how this is affecting our veterans as well. Now I'm here to talk about our students, because that is what our focus is. We have pre-K all the way to just about 22 years old that we're looking for their best interest. And but on top of it, I see how it's impacting some of our veterans as well. This veteran was from District 300, and he was explaining that he is a dean, and in District 300, that is not represented today, they are actually driving around food and dropping off food to some of our families because they're too nervous about coming into the school for various reasons. And so that's something that's occurring, and you might be hearing that from Dr. Halverson and Dr. Johnson as well. When we're focusing on these things, we're just trying to make sure that our kids are taken care of. We care about the whole family, because obviously if the family is doing well, the kids are doing well as well. And we've already heard some different stats from some very intelligent people out there in regard to the impacts that this is going to have on learning as well. So we have different lists. Our schools, which are represented today, our school districts, are going to kind of talk about some things that they're doing. Some of the districts not represented are definitely getting the resources out there, whether it's personally handing food to individuals, or it's just making them aware of the resources, or making them aware of the different things that they are eligible for if they're on the free and reduced list. That free and reduced list is still open, so people can qualify for that if they need to. And then in regards to our ROE, I'm gonna let Katie Alcrum talk a little bit about that.
Thanks. So like John mentioned, when students' basic needs are not met, learning obviously suffers. And so when they're worried about when the next meal is going to be placed on the table or where they're going to get kind of fed is a top priority. So whenever the ROE is supporting schools and families, one of our main priorities is to make sure that their basic needs are met and supporting the whole child and family. And so specifically our Student Services Department is working hard to kind of connect resources within the community to our schools and families, because a lot of it is awareness and helping them just be aware of where they can go to outreach and where they can receive the services and support that they need.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Halverson?
The lady across is from 46. Yeah.
Or it's finally known as Dr. Bob.
Either way,
so much for providing this avenue for us to have a conversation. As John shared, I'm somebody who grew up in a single-family household and had food scarcity there. If it wasn't for opportunities provided through organizations like the Northern Illinois Food Bank, Marie Wilkinson, local churches, I'm one of those children who would not have had food on the table at points in time. So this is deeply personal for me as well. What I would say is we're definitely partnering with our local food banks, especially Marie Wilkinson. We have them in our high school. Our students are able to take home food bags every Thursday at the high school level there. One of the things that we've started to implement as things have unraveled a little bit further is emergency food boxes that are delivered out, and that's a partnership with ourselves and Marie Wilkinson, where we use some of our buildings and grounds crew to get those out to buildings. And it's definitely beneficial. One of the things that's challenging for us is obviously this is uncharted times, so sometimes the tracking of that information, getting it out, is tough for us at times. So I would ask for some flexibility in working with the Northern Illinois Food Bank, specifically for the tracking purposes there, because I can guarantee you this is going to hungry children and families each and every day. But it is something that's unique to us right now, something we haven't had experiences with before. But we're thankful for that partnership. Our numbers continue to increase. Saturday mornings, we have the Marie Wilkinson at the high school. On average, prior to this, we were typically right around 300 families or so. Anita can speak to this, but we're up to about 400 families right now. That was before SNAP benefits subsided. So it's definitely something that's hitting our community hard. And at the same time, our community is under dual siege. You're taught, and Superintendent Johnson can speak to this, we're taught in our superintendent classes that we need to be apolitical in our approach, correct? Yes. It's hard for me to be apolitical right now because there is a target on our students' backs. When I'm looking at East Aurora, that's 87.5% Latino with a lot of immigrant populations. We can talk about the quantitative side of it, but I can tell you personally on the qualitative side of it. Wednesday, we had a ICE apprehension that occurred in one of our school zones, right in front of our building there, and I saw firsthand the heartache of the mother at that point in time. I walked in the office, her husband was detained the day before, her child was brought to school. She was there with a ride from the community. She was targeted at that point in time, and she was fearful to leave the office herself. So myself and our security supervisor had to physically drive her home. When we drove her home, we had to grab 4 of our emergency food boxes because they had no food in the household. We had to go get her son from class, who was out front looking forward and saw the interaction with his mother after his father had been detained the day before. That's not right. That's not acceptable. That's preying on the vulnerable right now. So my advocacy, when I'm not going to be apolitical with this, is that at the federal level, they would stop with politics driving policy from the presidency, because it is having a real impact on our students each and every day. When you look at the fact that our students' basic necessities are the premise that we're having to meet right now, it's hard to meet their educational needs. We're trying to fill in that gap. This Guatemalan immigrant, literally we had to walk the food into his house, make sure they locked the doors. We stopped at Walgreens because that was what was close, to get some of the other perishable items they needed, and brought those into the house as well. But they are living in fear each and every day, and this attack on the vulnerable has to stop. It's not fair for our community, it's not fair for our children, and it's not right for them to be pawns put in the middle of this at this point in time. So my advocacy would be keep doing what we're doing with the food bank, but keep advocating for this to stop in our community, because it's definitely impacting East Aurora. I know it's impacting U46, and I can no longer stand idly by and be apolitical in my approach because of the impact it's having on our community. So whatever we can do to continue to partner, we're looking for those partnerships, whether it's with the food bank, whether it's with Marie Wilkinson. We physically have our cabinet on the ground each day at each building to make sure that our kids are getting into the building safely, because our attendance rate's dropping as well. We know that school is the safest place for our children. So I'll step off my soapbox a little bit, but I just want to say thank you very much for the partnerships. Thank you for the advocacy. Whatever supports you need from us here as a school district to continue to advocate for the needs of our children, whether it's statements, whether it's bringing forward individuals either at the federal or state level, please let us know, because this is not right for our community to be impacted with this.
Thank you very much for that.
Dr. Suzanne Johnson.
Hi, good morning. I want to thank all of you for being here today, our elected officials, our community partners, our food banks and food pantries, for all of your support that you provide our communities. Well said, Dr. Bob. It has become the focus, and it shouldn't be. As educators, our focus is always our students and helping our students grow and thrive. Focus has become making sure that they are safe, they are welcome, they are included, they have a sense of belonging, they have everything that they need to be able to grow at whatever age, whether they're 3 or 22, as John spoke just a little bit ago. That takes a lot of time, and it's taking more and more attention and energy. But we're gonna do it, because that's our charge, and that's our mission. And I appreciate the communities that we are part of, because that is the spirit. That is what we're gonna do for our students and the children in our communities, because that's what they deserve, and that's their right. That is their right every day to come to school, to be welcome to school, to be safe in school, and have everything that they need, and will continue to do that. In U46, I'm very thankful. We have some tremendous resources. We do have a grant with the USDA, and we will continue to support that regardless of what happens with that grant, but we're able to provide breakfast and lunch for all of our students every day. We're able to provide dinner at 37 of our sites as well. Luckily, we have some partnerships for backpack programs across 14 of our schools, and as I shared with Emily, we're on a wait list for more. But we definitely appreciate the partnership and the collaboration, because we know what the needs are. We know that you know where some of the needs are that haven't surfaced yet, and we're here. We're here to problem solve. We're here to figure that out, because that's what we're gonna do. Not going to allow this. I don't think anybody here is going to allow this to continue to impact our children in the way that it has. And at all costs, whatever that is, we will do the work. And I'm so very thankful finally for my team in U46, because they are 100+% on board with this whatever it takes for our students and the adults that care for our students when they aren't in our care. So thank you so very much for being here.
We have 5 minutes left, and I'd like to now go to closing comments. And just very quickly, Congresswoman Underwood, I'd like to begin with you, and then Congressman Foster.
Thank you all so much for sharing what's going on at each of your food pantries, your food bank, obviously your experience, ma'am, and to our educators, to the extraordinary commitment that you have to our students and their families. This is a time of immense pressure. There is strain, there is trauma, there's a physicality, there's a weight that we're all carrying. But when someone doesn't feel safe, they don't have that sense of security, they are going hungry, they feel surveilled, they feel under attack, or they can't protect and provide for their family in a way that they need to. That's attacking their core human dignity. And our community is in the bullseye of an attack from the president and his administration from Washington, D.C. I am grateful that we are all there to have their back. Thank you for your extraordinary commitment and dedication to turning a small contribution and multiplying it into a way that can feed thousands. What you all do here at the Northern Illinois Food Bank is truly extraordinary, and I look forward to continuing to work with you, particularly as these paperwork requirements go into effect that will then, beginning in just a few weeks, start to impact people's ability to continue to qualify for the SNAP program. We have a lot of work to do, my friends. And Madam Chair, thank you so much for bringing us together for this really timely, urgent conversation.
Thank you.
Everything has been said somewhat eloquently, but maybe I'll just add one thing. We shouldn't imagine that this is just the problem of East Aurora. You know, even in normal times, there are people who show up at the food pantries from every community in every county in the area. And, you know, I don't know how many of you follow the financial news, but the October layoff
I wanna, instead of making comments, because again, everybody has spoken so well on this, and I think we are all sort of stunned into thinking, this is our country. This is the country we live in. This is the country we've always been so proud to be citizens of. And to look around and say, if you would have told me a year ago that this could ever have happened to us, I never would have believed it. So we're all dealing from this as political people who are used to being servants to go out and help people, and to be feeling so unbelievably helpless is devastating. I'm gonna bring up one question because this was my concern when all of this came down, and I don't know where it ties in, but at some point, is this going to impact what is so vitally important, which is going to be the free student lunches that so many of our schools provide, that so many kids getting those free breakfasts and free lunches, and that may be the only meals they are guaranteed. Are we at a risk of what's happening now on the federal level of that being impacted?
It's just hard to answer. I think it's best to let the question hang. Let people understand that everyone's voice is going to be important in figuring out what's going to happen here.
Thank you. And thank you. We'll let that take it back. Mulder, Representative Mulder?
I just thank you for bringing us together.
So, Julie?
Sure. Last night, we had an event here with our former board members, we call them our emeritus board, and we had Jim Truesdale here. Jim and Kathy were founding members of Northern Illinois Food Bank. Jim was our first board chair back in the early 1980s. And Jim stood up and expressed his gratitude. Can you imagine being Jim 40 years ago and saying, I'm gonna start a food bank? And it grows into this. We wish it didn't have to, but it did. And so I want to close with my gratitude. I'm grateful to so many people who have reached out to Northern Illinois Food Bank and our amazing food pantries that are part of our network, saying, how can I help? I want to say thank you to our neighbors, our brave neighbors who are more clever and creative than you and I ever have to be when we have enough. I want to thank you for lifting up your voice and sharing your story with us today. That is not easy. And I want to thank all of you. You know, we lived through COVID. I said that to the team this morning. I said, you know, we did COVID. I thought that was our thing. I thought we were like, check us out. We did COVID, and now we're doing this. What I learned through COVID is resilience, and I learned strength. In all of us, in the collective. It's what Dr. Johnson was talking about, right? It's the collective. It's every person who says, I believe and I love people and I'm gonna make it better. And so my closing moment thought is keep it going. Keep it going, keep showing it. Keep showing up, because that gives all of us hope. And that's what we need today, is hope.
Thank you, thank you. There's a story that I loved when I was a child. A man came into a village in Germany where they were starving and had a big pot that he carried. And he got some water from the stream, started a fire, and put the pot on top of the fire and put some stones in there. People came from the village and laughed at him. And he tasted, cooked it, and said, you know, it needs some onions. Does somebody have some onions? And somebody went back to their house and grabbed some onions and threw it in. And then he said, you know, it could use some carrots. And somebody went and got some carrots, and so forth and so on, until he had a kettle, a large pot, a cauldron of soup that well fed the entire community. And that's where we are right now. We have to have that cauldron of help. That help transcends not just food, it helps to impact rent, because if you have no money to pay your rent, or you have no money to pay your food, what are you going to do? You're not going to pay your night court bill. You will not pay your electric bill. The shoes that are badly needed or the new boots with the upcoming weather, well, you just have to jam your feet into the old boots and hope that they'll be okay, because we'll get there. We'll get you that new pair of boots when we can. So this impact of the lack of money for SNAP benefits is gonna have a devastating impact upon our economy, as was mentioned. Jobs being lost throughout Kane County, rents not being paid, mortgages delayed. We're in a very, very challenging time, but we have to live. We can't live in despair. We cannot live in despair. We have to make sure we bring what we can to that pot so that we can all share in our mutual wealth to be shared through the community. So I'd like to thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your very wonderful words and your advocacy. I'd like to thank our members of the public for taking time out of their day to listen to us. And thank you, Julie, for hosting us. And yeah, we're going to be there for you. Just tell us you're in charge. Tell us what you need, and we'll make it happen as best as we can. So thank you all.